so I can practice and.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. So then, did you get a chance to look over the questions?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm just gonna ask you to introduce yourself, your name, your title, the school you graduated from, and then after every question, after I ask it, wait a few seconds and then respond. That way I could cut myself out and it's just gonna be you.
Okay.
So, ready? All right. So, okay. So the first one is, if you could introduce yourself, your name, your title, and the school you graduated from, and what year.
My name is Fazeel Chauhan. I went to Castle Long Beach. I graduated in May of 2022. My major was social work. I was in a 3-year program.
Okay. And then, can you describe or explain why you wanted to become a social worker and the journey to becoming a social worker?
I think it started with, since childhood, I had a number of teachers and one poet in particular named Iqbal. His work is similar to the work of Rumi. And what was emphasized was self-development, or what Maslow would say, self-actualization. And so this was a constant theme, as I was growing up, not just for me, but other kids around me. And this is what this was instilled into us. So, and also a part of that was community service. So years later, when I was going to college, I was majoring in information technology, but I was also minor in psychology. And so initially it was like they say, psychology is the study of why people behave the way they do. But then I was interested in helping other people because many other people had helped me, many mentors and friends and trainers. And so their work and also the work that I was doing with them as a life coach and as a peer counselor, so all of that work inspired me to do a career change and become a social worker so I can help other people, especially in the area of relationships. And at the same time, as a social worker, we work on the macro and the micro. So the macro part of it is that I've always been compassionate about social justice, and that's why I got into this field.
And what were some challenges or barriers you experienced during your social work education?
So I think overall it was a good foundation in graduate school for the field of social work. But about 1 year into it, about halfway through the program, I realized that a big important piece that was missing was CRT, or the critical race theory, or the critical theory perspective. So this came up, when it came up was when I was told that our university uses a generalist approach, and Casa Dominguez Hills, for example, uses heavily draws upon CRT. So the point where this came up was I was having some conflict with one of my professors, who was a person of color, was female, and an immigrant. And so, it was very surprising to be in a class with a person with this background, where I was expecting, that they would understand, uh, they would better understand issues of diversity and other cultures. But the lens that was being used in that class included pro-military, included some ideas which were even against, some ideas that I would consider Islamophobic. So it was very disturbing to be in this class. So one, to be in a class that is in the field of social work and to encounter this kind of explicit and implicit bias. And then secondly, the special class that it was, it made it even more disturbing that, in this particular class, how is this possible? So I think that was an important part of my education that I felt that it greatly lacked all through my 3 years of education at this particular program. The CRT the CRT content was close to zero. Let's say it was no more than 15 minutes, if I'm being generous.
Were there any other barriers, like financial barriers, barriers to your education that you found outside of the education?
I had to quit my job because in this 3-year program, we are required to start working as an intern in the 2nd year. So to do like 16 to 20 hours per week in the internship does not allow me and almost every other intern to be able to maintain another full-time job. So yes, it was difficult to, financially it was difficult because I had to quit my first job and become a full-time student. And I think it is very difficult for most interns that we work 16 to 20 hours per week as interns where we don't get paid, and then we still need to do another job where we get paid so we can pay for our bills and pay for our education and books and so on.
And what was your experience during internship? Do you have a specific example or story about internship you'd like to share?
So in general, in the 2 years of internship, I got valuable experience. But what was, the difficult times, the reality check or the wake up call or the rude awakening that I had was that, similar to the professor at school, now there was another professional who was my supervisor where I was doing my internship. So later I found out that the supervisor had a history of mistreating interns, and I was not supposed to be there. My school was not supposed to send any more interns to work under this supervisor. So we as interns are kind of indoctrinated from the beginning by the school and so on to have this perspective of you have to finish your internship. You will not be able to transfer to another internship, and whatever difficulties there are there, just deal with it. So the particular story is that the way that my supervisor was overall had created a hostile work environment. It was extremely stressful, and it was like I was walking on eggshells. It was I was being micromanaged, And although I was going above and beyond my my duties to make a positive contribution at my workplace. So, for example, I was doing errands to the restaurant to go pick up drinks that my supervisor wanted to give to some students. My supervisor had me do editing of spreadsheets, which didn't really have to do with my work. It was her work. Um, but I did not mind doing that until there was no reciprocation. So instead of me doing these extra things in a good faith effort, there was no reciprocation. Instead, it was a very negative attitude, and this person had a short temper, and I did not want to be in the same room with them, and I was assigned a desk where this was not my desk. I had to share this desk, which belonged to another worker. So in this room where I was sitting, it was these two desks, and the supervisor was sitting there. But a couple of days out of the week, they were not there, and I felt like that was the healthy environment when the supervisor was not there. So to give you an example of how even small things were like pulling teeth. So when I was assigned to this internship to this location, I was not given even the very simple basic things of a desk to sit on, right? I was not given basic office supplies, and this I heard was common for other interns, because as if we are some lowly intern who does not deserve any of this. The job that I was assigned was to meet with students and provide counseling, which required a confidential space. And frequently, because I was sharing this space with my supervisor, I had to step outside into the library. The library was a one-room space where the librarian also sat. And if that was not available, I had to go outside, find a place like at the bleachers. And it was not a proper place to do counseling. It was not a confidential space, ideally. And so one particular thing I can mention is that in that room where I was stationed, there was a desk. There was a third desk in a corner. This desk had some stuff on it, like a couple of lamps, some other things, like it was being stored as a shelf. It was being used as a shelf. So I asked the supervisor, there's a desk right there, can I use it? And the answer was basically no, that this would be very difficult. And I was like, nobody's using this desk. It's not even being used as a desk. So it became like a problem. It became very difficult just to be able to use the desk, which is like 12 feet away from me. And so in this process, I learned that the other interns who were working under the supervisor were having a very difficult time. So it was not me it was not only me. But it was the rude awakening was that just like at school, I had that professor and who I thought was not using the NSW Code of Ethics or the basic ideas of social work, of not being biased and being inclusive and to honor diversity and other cultures and other perspectives. Similarly, the rude awakening at the internship was this experience of encountering professionals in the field who were not practicing what we were being taught in school. So there was this disconnect of, okay, in school we are taught this idealistic perspective, and then this idealistic perspective, including we social workers advocate for social justice. Social workers advocate for the voiceless, for the ones who have been exploited, those who are vulnerable communities, those who are marginalized communities. And so this experience in internship made me feel like that there is a hypocrisy in this field, where we are taught that in school we are taught that social workers, we don't like these hierarchies, we don't like these social hierarchies, and we create these safe spaces, and we create these brave spaces, and we are caring people, and we respect other people, and we treat them with dignity, and we hear a lot of this bullshit about we care about human rights, we care about civil rights, but when it comes to when I was having these problems at my internship and I went to my university, basically I found out that interns do not have the same rights as workers. I found out that that when I was told by one of my professors to look at the manual, there was a manual, like a 60-page manual for interns, and I asked, what rights do I have? Like in this situation that I am at work, what rights do I have? And I was told, oh, go look at the manual. I said, there's nothing in this manual. In this manual, there's 2 pages with a lot of points, which have like 100 sub-points about how me as an intern will be held accountable. What are all the things that my supervisor can hold me accountable to, or my university can hold me accountable to? But but there's nothing to protect me. I have no protection because I have no rights. In this manual, it doesn't say anything about what rights do I have. So then I thought, okay, how come I don't have rights? How come in this manual, which probably has been going on for decades, this manual is many years old, how come there was never an Interns Bill of Rights included, an Interns Bill of Rights, where even a simple flowchart about, dear intern, we care about you. We don't want you to get hurt in your internship. We don't want you to suffer in your internship. We don't want you to be in pain in any way. Dear intern, we don't want you to work in a hostile environment because we care about you. So to protect you, we have these rights that to make sure that you will be safe, to make sure that you feel that you are in a career in which other people, other professionals care about you, because we want you to care about the people that you serve. So
Let's take a pause because that's coming up in the background. Sorry. Sorry about that.
no problem. It's good to pause. Yeah, that would be pretty loud.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying that there was nothing that was specifically said what your rights were and that they cared about interns.
Yeah. So, the manual did not have anything like interns bill of rights. Okay, that could be a big thing, although at least give me like 2 3 rights, if not 10 rights. But there wasn't even a small blurb. It could have, you know, they could have put a small blurb in this manual that, dear intern, when you run into any problems at your internship, call this person or call this number. So, there is some kind of a helpline. There's some kind of, a very clear first step, second step. So instead, it was all gray and convoluted. So the interns think that I have no recourse. There's nothing I can do. I just have to stay in my internship and suffer through the whole year. So this was very disheartening, and I can tell you that there were really good people who said, I don't want to be a social worker. I am being treated horribly as an intern. I don't want to be in this field at all. People left the field because of this mistreatment.
If you could summarize in like one sentence, what disappointed you the most about internship?
The one thing that's most disappointing about internship is that interns do not have the same rights as workers, and we don't get paid. And the professors and almost everyone other than interns think that this is not a problem. Anybody other than interns, most of those people are in a state of denial that interns are not a marginalized community. We are not a vulnerable, exploited community. So we don't deserve the care that social workers extend to other marginalized communities. Although we are right under the noses of the professors, we are right under the noses of the professionals, but they have blinders on and they refuse to look at our suffering and our plight. This is really disappointing.
What are some things that you would like to see changed about internship or social work education in overall?
So I think in social work education, the critical theory or critical race theory perspective is extremely important. If a person's major is education, if they're going to be a teacher, we could say that there's a lot of politics involved. That certain places do not allow, certain schools do not allow CRT to be included in the curriculum being taught to students. Okay, maybe that's acceptable, but for a social worker, our job is to advocate for the voiceless, and our job is to advocate for social justice and for marginalized communities. And often these communities have been marginalized for decades or even centuries. And so the critical race theory perspective is very important in our education, in our training. And I feel I was robbed of that. I even tried to get a CRT class through another major on our campus, and I was told, no, you cannot take that class because that class is only for that particular major. Although I've heard that Cal State Dominguez Hills uses a lot of CRT in their approach to teaching social work, but at our university, like I said, it's close to zero. Although I would hear from time to time from professors, from administration, that we care about CRT. CRT is included in the curriculum, and we have been teaching CRT for 3 years. And I was like, I pay attention in school, I pay attention in class because I'm passionate about this field, and I care about learning, and I have not heard about CRT. The CRT content, like I said, was maybe 5 minutes, not more than 15 minutes in my 3 years of education there.
So, there are two more questions. Let me just
I think part two of that question about what I would change about internship, I'll just, maybe put like 2 lines.
go ahead.
And what I would want to change about. Let me start over.
Go ahead and take a minute to gather your thoughts, and then I'm gonna just reset the audio.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
So what needs to be changed about the internship system is starting with 2 things. Number one, outlaw unpaid internships, because that is indentured servitude. It is exploitation. To have people do work and to not pay them just by calling them intern. Just put a label on somebody and then you don't have to pay them. So second thing I would like to change about the internship system is that there should be an intern's bill of rights. That interns should have the same rights as workers. But like I found out through a New York Times article that a judge ruled in New York that interns are not protected under the same civil and human rights of the state and the city. Interns are not protected under the civil rights and human rights laws like workers are. And this is unacceptable.
So 2 more questions. The first one is, during your course of your MSW education, how did this process affect your mental health?
In my 3 years of graduate school, there were these 2 very difficult periods. So about a year and a half into the program was about a 1-month period, about 5-week period of the conflict with the professor, and it was very disturbing, and I was having a hard time